So let's start. Mr. Erden, could you please inform us about the Turkish Wind Energy Association?
Turkish Wind Energy Association is a representation body of the Turkish wind energy sector, which is comprised of more or less all stakeholders in Turkish wind energy industry, namely wind energy investors, power plant investors, industrial companies, consultants, lenders, and other advisors. They are all members of our association. Our association has been established about 30 years ago as the main body of Turkish wind energy industry to help wind energy investments grow in Turkey, to increase employment, and to enlarge Turkish wind energy industry.
So, especially in the last years, recent years, what has made Turkey a major player in the wind energy industry, you think?
To make it short, Turkish wind energy industry's growth started mainly in around 2005-2006. Although we had earlier investments, which started late 90s, the growth in Turkish wind energy industry started with the liberalization of Turkish energy industry, and also start of the renewable energy investment law. So, which provided certain incentives to renewable investments in Turkey. With the renewable energy law, renewable energy investments have been provided certain incentives, which was feed-in tariff based incentives, plus certain local component support, local component use, which was supporting local component use, has been started. So investors which have been using locally manufactured equipment have been given additional premium. So since 2005-2006, renewable energy investments, along with hydro, wind, and solar, has been stimulated and started in Turkey. And after 2010, especially, more or less 1,000 megawatts of wind projects have been commissioned in Turkey more or less every year. And thereafter, also new tenders to grant capacities to local investors and international investors have given additional support to investors and to local industrialists to invest in wind energy, plus for the industrials also to invest in manufacturing of wind turbines and relevant components.
So why do you believe in wind energy as a major contribution to the Turkish energy sector, and how does the sector do that?
It is in parallel to global developments. In fact, Turkey is not a fossil fuel rich country. Sorry for that. We don't have many resources in oil, in gas, natural gas, and also our coal reserves are quite poor in calorific value. So we have a certain amount of coal reserves, but utilization of that coal in power generation is not much economic. So what is left is renewable resources, which are hydro, wind, and solar. Plus, luckily, we are quite rich in geothermal resources, but that is also not sufficient to provide necessarily electricity for the overall consumption of 85 million people, plus our industry, plus our commercial facilities. So wind and solar in that field emerge as one of the top two energy resources. And also considering the industrial development in Turkey, which helps wind energy equipment manufacturing. Wind definitely is one of the top 2 technologies for Turkish energy supply. Therefore, we as Turkish Wind Energy Association, our members, our stakeholders, and Turkish energy ecosystem believes that wind in Turkey definitely is one of the key pillars of Turkish energy growth and energy supply.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. How does your association support the development of wind energy in Turkey?
Let me give you the answer with an addition to the previous question, how we support it. In fact, Turkey has enormous wind energy resources, similar to solar. With a recent analysis done by our members and by Turkish Wind Energy Association, we expect and we calculated more than 100,000 megawatts of wind energy potential in Turkey, only in onshore facilities, in potential onshore facilities. On top of that one, Turkey has more than 15 gigawatts of onshore wind energy potential.
15 gigawatts, right?
15 gigawatts of wind energy potential, which in total brings us to 115 gigawatts to 120 gigawatts of overall potential. So this, in fact, makes wind attractive in Turkey because it is economical. So how do we support wind energy investments in Turkey? Is definitely we are making such analysis and make this public. Plus, we are working cooperatively with all stakeholders, including the government authorities and local authorities, both for the allocation of additional capacities for wind, considering that we have enormous amount of wind capacity, plus with local and central authorities, also to make the permitting procedures easier. So first thing, of course, there needs to be capacity allocation for wind energy investments, which we are trying to make happen. Also, the second thing is make the permitting procedures easier so that the development process goes and continues smoothly. And third one is, of course, to work cooperatively with the international and local industrial companies to help them make their investments in Turkey. So additional factories, additional component manufacturing facilities in Turkey will make local component manufacturing and local equipment available for the local investors. As you know, wind turbines are enormous machines, and it is quite important to manufacture those components, especially large components, in the country, so that it will be easier for the investors to transport and to install and erect those turbines, because this also requires additional know-how, not only for erection and commissioning, but also for operations. So we are also working cooperatively with the equipment manufacturers to help them localize their manufacturing, so that investors in Turkey have easy access to wind turbines or wind turbine components. And the fourth process that we are trying to do to make wind energy investments easier is we are cooperatively working with the lenders, with the financial institutions, to make them familiar with wind energy investments and reduce the perceived risk in their calculations and make wind energy financing, renewable energy financing easier.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you had a busy period to boost Turkish wind energy sector in the country. Regarding the lessons learned, what do you think? What can other countries learn from the Turkish wind energy sector?
What Turkey has gone through is more or less similar to what many other developed and developing countries are going through. First thing is wind energy investments require definitely, mainly the necessary capacities to be allocated. They're informing necessary government authorities, government institutions about wind technology, and not only the mechanical structures, but also the electrical design is quite important. So new wind turbine technology allows enormous amount of wind turbine integration to the grid easier. So helping them to understand and to learn wind turbine technology is very important. Second thing is informing the lenders. Informing the lenders and helping them understand that wind energy investments have quite low risk, both during construction and during operation is quite important, because those are the financial institutions are the ones which are facilitating wind energy investments, because it is not only up to the investor just to make the investment. So lenders are quite important to inform and to cooperatively and collaboratively develop the sector. Plus, the government institutions and relevant authorities are quite important. And third one, of course, is related with investors. Investors are the ones developing the project, doing the investment and operating the projects. So it is quite important also to develop a know-how internally within the country and distribute it to other investors, so that the wind energy investments increase in terms of quality, in terms of amount of megawatts, and generate as much energy as possible at the locations where they are invested. Because we have seen unfortunately, many wind turbines relocated after many years of operation, because at the beginning of the investment, the locations that had been chosen by the investors, unfortunately, were mis-selected. So, although they could have generated a higher amount of energy, unfortunately, they were generating low amount of energy. So, those investors, unfortunately, had to remove those turbines from the existing locations and relocate those to new locations. So it is also important to inform the wind energy investors, which maybe needs to be done by associations like us, by members of us, which are technical advisors, turbine manufacturers, which are quite knowledgeable about both the turbine and also the investments. So it's a information sharing ecosystem that needs to be established in order not to experience similar mistakes and improve the investment quality of the wind power plants.
Sharing the information is quite an important point, as you just stated. So lastly, let's talk briefly about the future. What is your agenda for the future as Turkish Wind Energy Association?
Our agenda for the coming years are first, increasing localization of wind turbines within the country, because we believe Turkish wind energy industry and manufacturing ecosystem is quite competitive when you compare it with their counterparts around the globe. Plus, the situation, the economical and political situation around the world in the supply chain is in favor of Turkey and Turkish manufacturing ecosystem. So this is one of the main items in our agenda in the coming weeks, months, and years. Second one is, of course, linked with the decarbonization and long-term change of Turkish energy generation portfolio. We need more green energy, and wind energy investments, along with the others, are, as I mentioned at the beginning, the main pillars of that future portfolio. So we will be working more and more to change Turkish energy generation portfolio to make it more wind energy friendly, renewable friendly, and we will be working cooperatively with the relevant authorities. We are making our own technical studies. We are developing our own know-how and sharing it with the necessary parties. And thirdly, it is related with the financing of green energy in Turkey, renewables and wind energy in Turkey. It is quite important for local investors, together with local industrialists, to reach cheaper international financing, so that our energy generation mix can be more competitive and produce and generate low cost energy from wind. So these are main three items in our agenda for the upcoming years.
Okay, thank you for your time and all the information that you gave us, Mr. Ibrahim Erden, head of Turkish Wind Energy Association.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.